Hello and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove. I'm joined by a man who always keeps his windows closed. His name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello. Indeed, I do. In fact, I went around my house the other day just to make sure all the windows were locked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have some sort of insulation on there as well?
On the windows?
Yeah.
No, we probably should. Like the plastic wrap or whatever people put up to seal them even further. No, we have not yet done that.
So we're going to talk January transfer window today. It just occurred to me that it's such a strange time to have a winter transfer window where you open the window. And maybe it's only occurring to me now because we're having a particularly cold January.
I was curious where the window was coming from. It didn't even occur to me to go that route.
You thought I just wanted to chat about fenestration?
Well, we had First of all, excellent work there. Second of all, we had just had the entire conversation about the Eastern cold bomb or whatever it is that's coming to town.
Bomb,
yes, so I am kind of mentally preparing for that as well. Because we don't have insulation under our house. That's fun.
Oh, well, good luck.
Warm floors.
Let's mentally prepare for the January transfer window. We're going to talk about the transfer stories that are happening or are about to happen. Hello, Felipe Coutinho.
Or have already happened.
We're going to talk about some transfer rumours that we've seen floating around. But first, maybe for sort of for the newcomers, maybe people who haven't been through a winter transfer window before, if you're sort of just getting into soccer, what is the winter transfer window, Taylor? Let's do a primer/primer. Hello, Jim Broshaw.
That's great too. The easiest explanation would be that you have the summer window when you can buy players, and then you have the January window in which you can buy further players to kind of bolster your squad. The idea being you're halfway through a season. If you need to strengthen here or there, if you missed out on opportunity in the summer, you have 1 month to get those deals done.
So it's 1 month in January where basically all the clubs, the window's open, meaning they can buy and sell players during that window.
Exactly. But I prefer to think of it as like one of those like kind of semi-suspicious car dealerships where it's sort of like made catastrophic errors, fired your manager, don't know what to do, buy a striker in January. What could go wrong?
So it's like the used car window.
Yeah. Bad credit, we'll sell you a striker for 3 times the market value because it's January.
It's like when Homer buys that gigantic RV.
Yes.
So here's a weird thing. Before we get into specific stories and rumours, you said to me earlier that it feels like a lot of newspapers and websites have kind of just recycled their summer transfer window stories. Yeah. So anything that they'd already written the story up maybe, but the deal didn't go through, they just sort of like drag that out of the folder and be like, oh, recycle. I didn't empty my recycling. I'll just pull that out of the trash and put it back on the front page.
I wouldn't go that far.
I was being mean.
Well, no, I only say that because I also don't think you're that far off. I genuinely think that editors know transfer rumors sell, and that's a thing that people are always excited about because people are always excited by new faces coming in and the team getting better. And so I wouldn't be surprised if editors have said, hey, we need some rumors, we need some stories. And so people have gone back and said, oh, that deal didn't get done. Yeah. Let's go back to talking about that one.
So definitely a British tabloid newsroom where they've been like, who was that dude at Monaco?
Yep.
Oh, sounded like, what's his name? And it was Thomas Lemar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's one. Alexandro, that would be the other one that I've seen that I feel like that was like the summer ended with Antonio Conte still wanting him.
Back? We can't remember if it's one name or two. Yep. Yeah, get that story going again. All right, should we start with the big story that has happened, which is Virgil van Dijk has signed for Liverpool from Southampton for £75 million.
Yep.
So we have talked about this a little bit from a Liverpool perspective when we did our sort of 2018 very specific predictions. I'd like to look at it from a Southampton perspective. And half of me wants to say, well done, Southampton.
Yeah.
You got more than the money you wanted. And you kind of made Liverpool apologise for tapping him up last summer, right? But in the meantime, things have gone really badly for your team.
Yes, and I honestly think that they're in a worse situation because they had brought Virgil van Dijk back into their team. It was still a little bit like not everybody very happy, so this move always seemed like likely to occur.
Yeah.
But I think what you want to do when you have publicly a massive amount of cash coming in is get your deals done more or less before that deal goes through.
Yeah.
And I know you can't really do that because Virgil van Dijk was like announced on December 27th or something like that. The window doesn't technically...
I think he had like a Christmas tree behind him and he was holding up a Liverpool jersey. He kind of got out ahead of it and announced it himself.
But I'm guessing that's a jersey that his agent bought for him because the club, I don't think, could have given him one yet because he's not yet officially a Liverpool player until the 1st.
Even before getting that Liverpool money, he could afford a jersey.
I'm just saying, I feel like maybe that's the thing that the agent does to make everybody happy. But my point is simply that it would have been difficult for Southampton to get any deals like officially permanently done, but you know the writing is on the wall. You know he wants to leave. You know Liverpool are probably going to be back. If not Liverpool, then probably Man City. And so what you want to do, in my opinion, I know a lot about how front offices work. I don't, but it seems the most reasonable that you would try to get your deals done because suddenly, if clubs now know that you've got $75 million to play with and already a lot of money from TV rights and whatnot.
I would
you're in
say,
trouble.
But in hindsight, even though it's great to get 75 for him, it would have been better to sell him in the summer and reinvest that money and sort of not be fourth bottom of the Premier League right now.
I mean, but I still think that things can be two things, or in this case, things can be the same thing. Which is, I think it's bad that they're bottom of the table and obviously need to reinforce. But I think that $75 million is not going to go nearly as far as maybe people might think.
Yeah.
Because now a player that maybe they could have gotten for $12 or $15 million is going to be $22 to $25 million because clubs know they have that money.
Interesting. So we'll see. I haven't seen any specific Southampton rumours, but I'm guessing they'll have to be spending at some point, right?
The name that I keep seeing linked with a lot of clubs is Daniel Sturridge on loan, because there are clubs who need an out-and-out striker. He can go there, kind of rediscover form. Yeah,
does Dom Solanke appear to have maybe stepped over him in the Liverpool pecking order?
Yeah, I think so. The other ones are Christian Benteke, that seems less likely, and Alfie Mawson, the Swansea centre-back, who they will not want to part with. But I think he's been mooted as sort of a like-for-like-ish replacement.
That would be
Van
crazy for Swansea to sell to a relegation rival,
not happening.
Right?
I think it's a lot of people just looking for maybe holes that could fit other holes.
Alphabetical and relegation rival.
Yeah.
All right, so you mentioned Liverpool.
Yeah.
The other, kind of the weirdest story that's come out the last week or so.
Before we move on to that one, we should say, though, I think it's a great bit of business. We've already kind of talked about this, but for Liverpool, even at $75 million, it's what the market dictates, and it's a position they needed filled, and Virgil van Dijk is, as you all often point to when we do any sort of draft in which he's eligible, you tend to pick Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah, he's great in the air, strong in the tackle, smooth on the ball, no slouch, really smart defender, very young still for a defender. He's really coming into his powers, right? He's 25-ish, I believe. So he's got a good maybe another 7-8 years at the very peak, maybe more. It's a great signing.
And we talked a little bit with...
Also, he sat in the stands looking like a magician for that first game. And I can't remember who it was against, but Liverpool went one down early on, but they ended up turning it around. Do you remember this game over the festive period? I can't remember which of the 4 recent games this was.
Several.
He did a very good poker face of not looking sort of exasperated with his new teammates when they conceded in minute 1.
Well, I mean, I think when you come from Southampton, the way their season's gone, it's easy to be exasperated. But I would add that, Southampton have obviously stayed in the Premier League, but I think a lot of that is because they tend to find value bargains, both managers and players who can kind of come in and play well. But it's not sort of a Burnley situation that we've talked about with, say, Michael Keane, where maybe part of the reason why he hasn't found as much success with Everton is because Burnley played a system that really fit Michael Keane's game. I don't think you have that with Southampton as much. So I don't think you're going to see, because I've seen some people make the point that Dejan Lovren looked really good at Southampton. Right. He moved to Liverpool. He didn't look as good. I think that is people looking for reasons to not like the Van Dijk move.
Yep.
Whereas I think Virgil van Dijk will do just fine.
We'll find out soon, right?
We will indeed.
I think so too.
Yeah.
All right. So one of the reasons maybe Liverpool were quite comfortable spending $75 million on Virgil van Dijk is that it seems like they kind of know that there's a lot of money coming their way for Felipe Coutinho. Yeah. More so, there's the Nike story, which we haven't really discussed on the show yet, but it was kind of big news, right? Nike sort of accidentally, maybe deliberately, released some sort of advertising collateral that had Felipe Coutinho, and the advertising line was something like, "He's ready to light up the Camp Nou."
Yeah. Which is
weird for a Liverpool player.
It is. And when I first saw that, I forgot about what the Champions League draw was, and I thought maybe that was some cheeky Nike thing where Liverpool had drawn Barcelona, and so it could go either way. Not the case. Not the case. The other thing I also thought was maybe it was one of those scenarios in which, for people who don't know, sometimes clubs will have all of their marketing ready for a number of different players in case that player signs. The one that comes to mind most readily was a couple of seasons ago. Manchester United, it turns out, had 20 different players who were not their players already in their club shop, ready to sell their jerseys.
On the website, right?
And so there was a thing where it was if you searched Wesley Sneijder on there, you could get a Wesley Sneijder Man United jersey. And I thought maybe this was the case, that there was already the Coutinho Barcelona jersey, just in case that deal goes through.
That was what they were selling, right? They were selling the jerseys.
Yes, but it was not some sort of if you enter this specific name, it shows up. It was a full rollout package.
Yep. Which suggests that either Barcelona have told Nike, or Nike and Barcelona have worked together to be this guy is definitely coming January, or the deal was already agreed behind closed doors, which, some of Coutinho's behaviour suggests that it might have been all set up to happen in January. So I'm very confused right now, because now the rumours I see are that Liverpool and Barcelona are kind of Barcelona are putting in bids and Liverpool are kind of rejecting them or negotiating higher. So maybe the deal wasn't already sort of in place?
I would say there's a decent chance the deal was in place. Barcelona probably told Nike, because they are Barcelona's sponsor and not Liverpool's. And then Nike leaked it. Like my guess would be like it was even.
Is this Liverpool punishing Barcelona and Nike for leaking?
Yeah, I think
kind
so.
of like Southampton punishing Liverpool for them tapping up Virgil van Dijk in the summer.
Yeah. And I think there have been also allegations.
The cycle continues.
Yes, there are allegations from Atletico against Barcelona that they had tapped up Antoine Griezmann. They filed an official complaint with FIFA. So maybe there's also that idea that like if they were to get another transfer ban, they've got to make some moves very quickly. So if you're Liverpool, this move has been announced. So now all of the pressure is on Barcelona because now Barcelona fans are seeing this and thinking, well, are we getting him? Yeah. Are you guys actually handling this very well? And so if you're Liverpool, you can think, instead of 120, we want 160 because that's the fee that has now been talked about.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Sure.
By the time January is over, we close that window because it's February, it gets real cold. You've got to close the window. Is Felipe Coutinho a Liverpool player or a Barcelona player at that point?
Barcelona.
Yeah. I think so too. It feels that way.
I would be surprised if he's not a Barcelona player in the next week. I mean, genuinely, because
wasn't there a quote from a Times journalist that Coutinho thinks he's played his last game for Liverpool?
Yes, and then I think Klopp came out and said, well, it's because of injury. That's why he hasn't been playing. It's not because we're getting ready to sell him. But then again, for the third time this show already, things can be two things. It can be he's got a slight injury. We don't want to exacerbate that injury to risk that deal not going through. Okay,
quick question on this then. If Liverpool lose Coutinho, how bad is that for them in terms of their sort of playing personnel? I think of them as kind of a stacked team no matter what.
Yeah.
And yet it seems to be Coutinho scoring from distance quite a lot.
It does. And I would say, like, I am not a Liverpool fan, so I do not watch them every single week. I watch them enough to know that he's a very good player for them.
Yeah.
But I don't...
Front three or middle three.
Yeah. But I don't think he is the end-all be-all of that club. But frankly, I think like when they lost Luis Suarez to Barcelona, that was probably a bigger blow.
Because it was so built around him, right? Whereas now it's Salah, it's Mane, it's Firmino. Yeah. Coutinho is important, but he's not the sort of the sole focus.
Yeah, and
James Milner can play back heels as well.
And has been looking good.
Yeah.
And two things there is that one, I would say that like going back to the Suarez point though, when you have a player who kind of clearly wants that move, it's always going to be the rumor. So every January, every summer window, it's always going to be, this club's coming for him, this club's coming for him. And at a certain point, if you're the club who employs that player, in this case Liverpool, at a certain point, it's like, all right, let's just get rid of him. I don't want to deal with this anymore. Yeah. The printer agrees with me.
I like to pretend that's a fax machine. It's an offer coming in for Taylor.
Yeah.
We don't have a fax machine.
Yeah.
Because we're a 21st century podcast.
I'd be okay if we had a fax machine, though, just to, be in keeping with the times. But the other thing I was
going to... just on top of your emails. Don't need another communication.
I know, but if the fax machine is coming through and loud, then I'm going to know it's there. But the other thing I would add is that, like, with my criticism of Southampton, you look at what Liverpool have done, and they have gotten their business done to prepare for this move coming through. Yeah, and Virgil van Dijk as well. They spent that money before Coutinho was announced, and then suddenly it's like, 75, how about 100 million for Virgil van Dijk?
Okay, so what else is going on? Diego Costa was not sort of a transfer that just happened, but he is a guy that just started to play for Atletico Madrid. So he basically...
He's already scored.
He was basically with them since the summer after he left Chelsea. But Atletico had the transfer ban in the summer, so he couldn't actually put his signature and be registered until January 1st. Diego Costa is now an Atletico player once again.
He is. I don't think he's allowed to train. I don't think he was allowed to train with the first team because you have to be registered to train with the first team, I believe.
What if he wears a mask?
And I believe that, that could be. I think you can train with the youth teams, but I don't even know if he was doing that because a lot of the stories that I've seen where he has signed and now the club doctors are trying to help him lose weight. So I don't know if he has been fully training with Atletico. Not to say that he is completely out of shape, but maybe he's not up to the shape that Diego Simeone would have liked.
Well, Diego Costa is back, which means he's already scored, right? Didn't you tell me that he played in a Copa del Rey game today? I'm not sure who they played, but it was like a lower division team.
It was a third division team.
And he's already on the score sheet.
Came on in the 64th minute, scored in the 68th, I believe.
Wow. That should have been a 2018 very specific prediction.
It should have been. Yeah. I'm kind of upset we missed that one. I think it's because we just kind of forgot about him,
Yep, he disappeared. He disappeared. Out of sight, out of mind, Diego Costa. Okay, here's the interesting thing, though. Antoine Griezmann was planning to leave Atletico this past summer, was probably going to Manchester United, but he stayed because Atletico had the transfer ban. He knew if he left, they couldn't bring anyone else in. It would have kind of damaged Atletico Madrid.
Yep.
And then he went on and played not really very well for them for 6 months. Took that idiotic photo. And now if he leaves, they can replace him. They kind of have with Diego Costa in terms of they're not the same player, but another striker. Does Antoine Griezmann leave this summer?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know anymore because I don't know if he fits as well with Manchester United now, although not much has changed from when they wanted him to this point. I just still don't know where he would fit in there. So then the other club that has been linked, as I talked about earlier, is Barcelona. And Barcelona were, I guess, already discussing terms of a contract with him, whether or not that happens because of the complaint filed by Atletico.
But was that maybe a Coutinho backup plan? Was Antoine Griezmann?
I guess so, but that feels really erratic.
They're very different players.
Well, but it also just feels like when you're playing FIFA and you have 11 hours left in the transfer window and it ticks by like 1 hour at a time and you're just like, you won't. How about you? Like you can't just keep offering money to everybody and then suddenly.
Meanwhile, Ousmane Dembele is like, whoa, yeah. I'm coming back soon. Everyone slow down. Don't fill this team without me.
Maybe they're just trying to put him under pressure. So, but that is the thing because I don't know if Barcelona, if they get Coutinho, if they then spend another, I'm assuming 100 million to get Antoine Griezmann, that's a lot of money.
Do you feel like once that 100 million barrier was broken, now it's just like nothing to be bidding 100 and something million for players?
I do feel that because I genuinely was surprised that Coutinho was only 160 million.
Well, so why not Griezmann to Manchester United?
I think only because
that was the rumour last summer, so why doesn't it fit again?
I think because you could theoretically put that team together, and now that you've seen the way United have played this year, I don't know where he fits, because it seems like what France found out in the Euros is that he needs to be part of a strike partnership, otherwise he doesn't look as good.
I've seen him play as a kind of a lone forward, but then he has to be kind of the striker. He can't be a winger is essentially the thing, right?
Yeah.
Whereas at Man United they have Romelu Lukaku, and I can't see a team with Lukaku and Griezmann playing together unless Griezmann plays as like an attacking midfielder, like the Jesse Lingard type role, but that's not really his game, is it?
That's the thing,
and you don't play him wide, especially for Mourinho, because then he's having to trap back and do some defensive work.
Yep.
So I don't know, but maybe if Mourinho signs him for Manchester United, it's part of Mourinho saying like, okay, I'm going to do things differently. I don't always have to have a big, talented target man striker. I could go with like a little guy and see what we do there.
Yeah, but then the implication is that he's probably not going to play Lukaku and Griezmann together. And then that is sort of like, is either one of them going to be okay with like, oh yeah, I'll take like every other game off?
Yeah.
No, especially in the lead up to a World Cup. So it's just
That's
a strange
an interesting
thing.
one to watch. And
yeah.
that might be the thing I'm most interested in because it's such a weird situation. And it says a lot about what Mourinho's second half of the season plans are.
Yeah, and maybe I'm giving him too much credit. My final point here would be that I also wouldn't be surprised if Mourinho publicly chases Griezmann, knowing that would be like a £150 million transfer probably at this point, because that's how it goes, in order to then get 3 £40 million players, because it's still, you save money and you don't go after that one huge marquee player.
So why would he publicly chase him?
Because then the Glazers are like, look, we can't afford that, but we'll give you $100 million to spend. How about that?
It's just like negotiating with the Glazers.
Yeah, I mean, he does those things. But then again, I'm probably more inclined to give him credit because I still like Jose Mourinho.
Fair enough. All right, we've got lots more transfer stories and or rumours to talk about.
We do.
But first, Taylor, do you know who hosts our website?
I believe I do. Is it DarylGrove.com?
It's not DarylGrove.
No, it's Squarespace.com. Squarespace.
TotalSoccerShow.com is hosted by Squarespace. Squarespace are today's sponsor. Squarespace is genuinely our choice for hosting your website. It's the best platform out there.
It is indeed. We use them for our site. I know, Daryl, you've been using them for another site lately.
Yeah, so I've been helping my wife set up a new business that she's starting that is to help people relocate and settle in to Richmond. I won't give out the URL because we haven't launched it just yet. But I got the experience of building a Squarespace website with my wife. We sort of helped each other do it, but I kind of knew my way around a little bit. So I've really done it from start to finish for the first time. So we had a designer help us a little bit last time. It's really easy. It's really great. I've really enjoyed putting it together. Also, my wife thinks I'm a wizard.
That's always good. Yeah, and it's the new year. Maybe your new resolution is to start a business or start a new website, or maybe you go out and start writing on your own. Squarespace can help you set up that site.
Yep.
Or if you're a player who's out of contract or is looking for a move, say Enzo Zidane, who I think is currently, maybe has just signed, but he might be a free agent.
Yeah.
Like maybe you want to go the Michael Owen route and do that kind of like the self-promoting website. Squarespace has got you covered.
So which player should set up their own website using Squarespace in the January transfer window to try and sort of agitate for a move or make their move better?
It's a tough one. I'm inclined to say Antoine Griezmann because he's kind of got bad PR right now.
It would be 2014-15, 2015-16 highlights.
Yes.
There'd be no videos available from 2017-18.
But just sort of like, here's why I could be a number 10 versus a number 11 and a number 7 or a number 9. Whatever you need, I can do it.
You can include your social media feed as like an easy box you can add on your Squarespace website. He should not do that. He should not do that. You can also easily remove it from your website if you need to. I'd say also Daniel Sturridge is a good shout for someone who should... He could put a very good highlight video together.
It would just be a lot of his social media clips of him doing silly things with England teammates.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of that.
But he could also score some goals.
Also that. Check out squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, use the offer code
TSS
to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
I enjoyed that partnership we did there.
Indeed.
It's a good double.
Indeed. I was wondering if you were going to lean into it, and you did. Well done.
So squarespace.com and TSS for 10% off your first purchase of a website.
Thank you, Squarespace, for sponsoring today's show. Back to the transfer rumor mill / confirmed mill, I guess.
Which mill are we in here? I guess let's go confirmed and let's go American.
Sure.
In Major League Soccer, there's been an unexpected trade, the trade window, we're going to call it. Sacha Kljestan has gone to Orlando City.
That he has.
And in return, Orlando City have sent New York Red Bulls Carlos Rivas, the striker, and Tommy Redding, the defender, and $150,000 in allocation money. So it's kind of like Kljestan was the make weight in a Rivas Redding deal.
Yes.
It's weird, right?
It's very weird because when we were discussing this earlier and you said, and I think there was some Tam in there too, I assumed that was like Redding and Rivas and Tam for Kljestan. Yeah. And it wasn't the case, which is kind of odd. Yeah.
This makes sense on many levels, though, weirdly. A lot of MLS trades kind of make sense in the end when you realise how constricted teams are and how they have to wiggle around to do things. Like for Orlando, I get they've just lost Kaká, right? He's not only his contract ran out with Orlando and is retired from soccer.
Yep.
They've got an attacking midfielder-shaped hole. Sacha Kljestan can fill that hole, not be as good as Kaká, but be available more regularly than Kaká, right? And then he's a proven MLS entity. I think that's a good signing for Orlando.
Yeah, I think it is too. I think it's a good signing from them, like on field as well as like marketing wise. I think maybe Kaká had basically done what he was going to do with Orlando, and I think Kljestan kind of gets people reinvigorated. They know what he's capable of doing, both from a Major League Soccer standpoint, from a U.S. national team standpoint. He's a known entity at this point. So I think he is a player. Well, I just think he sort of has a reputation as this underappreciated but incredibly important player.
Yeah.
Similar to maybe what Dax McCarty had when he moved last season, that Red Bulls fans were pretty upset about it, even if they understood why the move needed to happen.
Yeah.
I haven't seen as much consternation from Red Bulls fans this time around. Maybe it's because they got a red jersey and that's all they've wanted for like 10 years. But I do understand why Orlando would make that move, especially because it does feel like for Jason Kreis, it's now or never to make something happen.
Right, and I think what's going to happen is Kljestan through balls for Dom Dwyer.
That makes sense to me.
That's the 2018 plan in Orlando, right?
Especially because I believe at time of recording, Kyle Larin has finally moved. I keep seeing it reported all over the place with different clubs.
Where's he going?
I think Borussia Mönchengladbach is the thing I saw today. That the headline I saw today was like Borussia Mönchengladbach win the race, but I think that might be him
to talk to Kyle Larin.
Yeah, maybe because I think Besiktas were always the fallback option for him, but it sounds like maybe Gladbach are in the pole position now to sign him.
Oh right, so I'm thinking maybe it'd be nice if he stays and you've got Kljestan feeding Larin and Dwyer.
I think Orlando City fans wouldn't mind that either. We did hear from Orlando City fan. I'm skipping to scouting very quickly. Jonathan Failer scouting Tommy Redding, the 20-year-old American center back for, I guess, New York Red Bulls. Redding was or will be included in the trade that sent Sacha Kljestan to Orlando, with New York getting Redding and Carlos Rivas in return. Redding got ample playing time the last 2 seasons with Orlando, but was in and out of the starting lineup, which did not help with his consistency. The Red Bulls have a history of developing a particularly young American center back, Matt Miazga, and will certainly be hoping to do the same with Redding. As an Orlando fan and season ticket holder, I'm sad to see Tommy go, but I think I'm happy to have Kljestan in Orlando. He is easy to hate, diving antics, hashtag Team Josie, etc. But now he's on my side, and it's exactly the type of player Orlando needs.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, that's interesting from a Redding perspective as well, right?
Yeah.
I saw a good. Mark Fishkin?
Mark Fishkin, yeah.
I saw his tweet, which was for Red Bulls, 2017 was the year of play your kids.
Yeah.
2018 is the year of trade your olds. So, because Kljestan is it, he's very much north of 30. So this is just more about getting younger and younger and younger.
Yes.
And maybe Tyler Adams gets to play more centrally?
That's what I was about to ask you. Like, is there a chance that this is them being like, hey, man, here are the keys to the ship. Yep. It is all yours. Please don't leave.
Could be at least for one more year.
Yeah.
Okay. That's definitely in the done pile. Leon Goretzka.
Yeah.
from Schalke to Bayern Munich. That's not done, right?
It's in the not done, wink, wink, not done department.
Not done, wink, wink, but it is Bayern Munich, so you know.
It's like in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 when Rocket can't remember which eye he's winking with, so he keeps very obviously winking while saying things, a little bit like that.
So if you're not familiar with Goretzka, he is a Schalke midfielder. He's had a bit of an injury problem the last couple of months, so you haven't seen as much of him. But you'll remember him from the Confederations Cup this past summer, 2017 Confederations Cup. He absolutely lit it up. He was Germany's star player as they won the tournament.
Indeed.
So yeah, he's an obvious Bayern Munich player, right? So it looks like his contract.
What do you mean obvious Bayern Munich player? In terms of talent and ability?
In terms, he's a youngish, talented German international who's lighting it up for a team that's just below Bayern Munich in the table.
Yeah.
Bayern Munich signed those players.
Oh, no, yeah. I'm with you on that.
That's how they stamp out opposition.
I genuinely didn't mean if you meant he's obviously a Bayern Munich player, as in he has already signed or something that. No. That's what I was trying to clarify. Because
I've seen this story before.
It was reported that because I think his contract expires in June, that he is free to talk to clubs and that he had already talked to and agreed to a deal with Bayern Munich. That was last week, I think. This week they've said, well, no deal has been, no one's talked to anybody, nothing like that has occurred, except today Bayern's sporting director said, yeah, we're definitely interested in him.
The only other rumour is that he possibly is linked with Liverpool. So that's like Liverpool fans might want to keep an eye on that because he'd be a great central midfielder to add.
He's going to Bayern Munich.
He'd be an upgrade on Emre Can.
Let's be real here. He's going to Bayern Munich.
Okay, that, by the way, Goretzka leaves more playing time for Weston McKennie. We've mentioned that before,
at all,
right?
Yes.
Any other rumours that you've got there? I feel like I keep naming them. Well,
yeah, I mean, we talked about one player leaving Chelsea in the form of Diego Costa. We should talk about another player who might be leaving. It's David Luiz.
Ooh, okay, are we into rumour territory here then?
I think we are.
Okay, yeah.
Well, rumour territory in the sense that he hasn't played since or played regularly for in the Premier League or the Champions League since October. That was when Chelsea lost 3-0 to Roma.
There's a fallout, right?
He reportedly criticized Conte's tactics for that one. Antonio Conte, I'm inclined to believe, is not the type of person who enjoys being publicly questioned. And so we haven't seen much of David Luiz. The reports are that he is free to move.
Yeah.
I doubt they're going to cancel his contract or anything like that, but I'm guessing that means Chelsea will listen to offers far below what they would usually expect.
So I don't know if we've read the same story, but I saw Antonio Conte saying that both David Luiz and Batshuayi, the striker, the Belgian striker, are kind of free to leave if they want, but I'll have to bring in reinforcements
There it is.
Re-emplacements. If they leave, because I've got too thin of a squad. So there may be some moves at Chelsea happening.
There may be. I think.
Remember, it's a World Cup year as well. All of this is kind of bracketed by it being a World Cup year.
Yeah.
There are players like Batshuayi who, if he wants to make the Belgium squad, probably needs to be getting on the field a bit more regularly.
Yeah, and he's one who's linked with basically every club in the Premier League that hasn't scored a bunch of goals. Batshuayi is linked with that club.
He'd be a great loan for any of those teams down the bottom of the table. Any of the bottom four could benefit from a Batshuayi loan.
Yeah. But I think Chelsea are also maybe getting a lot of coverage.
They're already loaning Tammy Abrahams to Swansea, right?
This is true.
So I'm not sure how many Chelsea strikers they will need to stay up.
I like that you just pluralized Tammy Abraham as though there's two of him being loaned to Swansea. They can just swap him in and out. But I think Chelsea, to go way back to when we were talking about some of the stories that were being talked about in the summer have just been unearthed for the beginning of this window. I think that's also what's happening with Chelsea, where there were a few rumors that maybe David Luiz wasn't going to fit Conte's system before. Now we're seeing Alexandro linked once again. We're seeing the Ross Barkley stories.
I don't get the Alexandro one because Alonso seems to be doing fine on the left, right?
Yeah, and I really do think that it is sort of like those stories. Someone said, hey, find a rumor for Chelsea. Oh, he was linked there before. And it was maybe before Marcos Alonso had really made everybody a believer that he could nail that, even though we kind of already thought that after last season. So maybe that's just weird journalism. I don't know.
What about...
But Thomas Lemar and Ross Barkley are the other ones who keep getting mentioned with Chelsea.
Oh, really? Ross Barkley. Okay, let's talk Ross Barkley. So Ross Barkley, kind of out of favour at Everton at the start of the season because he kind of made it clear that he wanted to move, right? Then he got injured. Then he hasn't really come back. I don't think he's played. I don't know if he's played this season at all or not much.
I mean, he played yesterday, I think.
He didn't play against Manchester United.
He did not play?
No,
okay,
I
wasn't
checked
sure.
the lineups. So Ross Barkley, he's out of contract this summer. 24 years old. Someone could get him, I think, quite cheap in January, or someone could just sign him and wait for him to arrive next summer.
I think that's not a very good move for him or for Chelsea, personally.
Any move? Oh, to Chelsea, yeah.
Yeah, because I think Ross Barkley definitely needs a change of scenery, but I also wonder if maybe he needs a change of scenery to a place where he is the man.
Yep.
And I think about Danny Drinkwater as an example. That's what I would compare him to in terms of a player who could be
very different styles, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's could be a regular starter for a Premiership team. Obviously, for Leicester, Danny Drinkwater was. Ross Barkley could probably start at Leicester, would be my point.
Yep.
Whereas if he goes to Chelsea, he'll get some odd minutes. Maybe he becomes integral to Antonio Conte's plans, but maybe he ends up being one of those peripheral players.
I've got some career advice for Ross Barkley.
Yeah.
Who's another one who could probably have done with a Squarespace website, right?
Yep.
Career advice for Ross Barkley is go on loan to one of the lower down teams, right?
Yep.
West Ham, Southampton, Swansea, any other team that's down the bottom where you think you could start. Go on loan there for 6 months, let your contract run out, then sign for someone else in the summer. If it goes well with the team you were loaned at, sign there and start playing. But it seems like he wants a big paycheck from a big team, and I feel like he's kind of being greedy and overestimating his talents.
Well, I think it's also dependent on Everton letting that loan happen, and they have no motivation to do so to loan out a player who's then going to be out of contract.
Yeah.
I'm sure what they would much prefer to do is get any money for Ross Barkley.
Yeah, give me 15 for him right now.
Yep.
£15.
Which is a very affordable rate for every single Premier League side, whether or not they want to admit that.
That's true.
And then I feel like with every window, there is that player that maybe tabloid journalists or whomever don't know that much about, but they know it's a sexy name, and I think that man this time around is Thomas Lemar.
Yes.
As I've already mentioned with Chelsea, linked with Arsenal, linked with Liverpool, I think he's going to be the one that gets linked with a lot of people, not just because he was linked with Arsenal in the summer, but because Monaco aren't in the strongest of positions, so maybe they are now more inclined to be like, all right, fine, he can go. We're out of Europe. We're not really looking like we're going to retain the title.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, we can sell some more people.
Okay, so to back up on Lemar, he's 22. He's a really exciting winger. We saw him for Monaco last year. I think all eyes were on Mbappe, right? But Lemar was doing stuff on the other wings. He was linked with Arsenal, but it seemed that Arsenal had a bid in that was kind of contingent on them selling Alexis Sanchez to Manchester City, and they pulled out at the last minute, right? So Lemar was kind of left dangling. So that could be revived. Liverpool, I saw, were linked with him, with it kind of being somewhat contingent on the Felipe Coutinho signing. So he seems like the face-saving, attacking winger signing that a lot of Premier League teams want to make, right?
Yes, or at least that people think that Premier League teams want to make. Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, I've got the feeling he'll go somewhere this January.
I think so. I think that's another one that if he doesn't, then he certainly will this summer.
Circling back around to Chelsea, I saw a rumour that they were linked with Arturo Vidal.
Indeed, £33 million pound bid.
And Bayern said, maybe double it.
Yeah.
And we'll see what we can do.
Unless he's also almost out of contract. I mean, I haven't seen anything about him, aside from not qualifying for the World Cup, I haven't seen anything where he's been particularly frustrated or angry by the situation.
But Goretzka's coming in, right? So there might be sort of a one in, one out type situation.
Do they need Arturo Vidal? I mean, I know Chelsea have a lot of money, and that's not my point, but it just seems like they have a lot of feisty central midfielders.
Yeah.
I don't know if they need him so much, if that's a position where they needed more depth versus other spots that they could certainly spend some money.
Arsenal need Arturo Vidal. That would be the signing.
That is true. That is a good signing.
It might keep Alexis Sanchez happy if they sign Arturo Vidal. And I want to talk, while you've got that in your head, I want to talk Alexis Sanchez.
Okay.
Because that story came out, a week or two ago, that essentially there's been a lot of unrest behind the scenes with Alexis Sanchez at Arsenal.
Yeah, and the difference for me with this one, because we were talking a little bit about off-air where I was wondering if clubs leak certain pieces of information to justify selling a player or bringing in another player. In this case, it was Arsenal about to sign a 20-year-old Greek player.
Yes.
The same day that the story gains a lot of traction is the day that they announced that
Koscielny's getting painkilling injections.
That they didn't announce that, but the story comes out. So I do sometimes wonder if there are those moments. But with Alexis Sanchez, it was a thing where every journalist was like, nobody seems to like him. Nobody is celebrating with him. None of his teammates are really high-fiving him or congratulating him. He seems angry.
So something
is wrong.
Wasn't it actually, speaking of Koscielny, there was a Koscielny-Sanchez argument in a locker room, apparently. There was the thing of of Sanchez scoring and no one celebrating with him. And it all comes from him sort of almost leaving in the summer, then sticking around. Then the story I read was that essentially it was bumping along nicely, but then Chile not qualifying for the World Cup in October kind of set him off because What did I read? I read that Wenger kind of gambled that, okay, it's a World Cup year, he'll want to just like stay in form and stay happy. And as soon as that dream falls away, then he's just like, well, what am I doing here? What am I even doing here? Get me out of here.
And again, there are situations when I would think, oh, this is a little bit overblown. This is people looking for a story. Mm-hmm. And yet I put a lot of faith in the video, which I think we've talked about, of Mesut Ozil trying to nutmeg Danny Welbeck as they're jogging into the locker room. Have you seen that?
No.
Oh, it's like as they're jogging in, they've like done their pregame warm-ups, they're jogging in, and you can see like Ozil's kind of looking for, like, they're playing the Meg game, and you can see Welbeck start to run with just his like feet together, like he won't separate them because he doesn't want to get megged, and Ozil banks it off an advertising board and puts it through his legs, and then they both like laugh and hug as they continue to jog.
Yeah.
And Ozil is another one whose contract is out this summer.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't mention that. Sanchez's contract expires this summer, so Wenger's plan was to we won't take a fee for him, we'll just let him run it down, but we get a year of Alexis Sanchez.
But you compare those two situations, given that they're in similar situations, that they're both going to be out of contract, and like Ozil's like goofing around with Welbeck and seems to be enjoying himself, and you don't hear that much drama about him. Versus Sanchez, it is visibly obvious that something is not right.
Because he expresses his frustration when things don't go well.
And so it will be interesting to see which clubs do start to get linked with him or which clubs do actually come in for him.
So is this a Ross Barkley type situation where it might be worth putting in sort of what you would think of as a lowball bid to get him out of his contract 6 months before? Or will Arsene Wenger just sort of be like, all right, let's just get whatever we can out of this guy for 6 months and then let him walk away?
I don't know, because the only other time I can think, I mean, I'm sure they've done it, but the one that comes most readily to mind for me, at least, is Robin van Persie, who wasn't going to renew, only had a year left, so they sold him to Man United. Man United go on to win the title. I do wonder if that makes Arsenal a little less inclined to sell a player who is then going to be maybe motivated to prove to everybody that, no, they were wrong, I'm actually a really good player.
So this is one of those things where we have all the rumours and we have some like evidence on field of, say, Sanchez being unhappy or there being a break with his teammates, but we just don't really know what Arsene Wenger or the Arsenal board are thinking about what's the best use of their investment.
Yeah. And this is where I think you've talked me into that I won't be surprised if we start hearing rumors of a bid from Man United, not Man City.
Man United for Alexis Sanchez?
Yeah.
He would be the ideal type of player that United.
I mean, this was your idea that I was like, no.
Oh, we talked about this off air.
Yeah,
right?
maybe.
Yeah, no. Well, I was more thinking about sort of what sort of player do Manchester United need, and I sort of thought an upgrade at winger, someone who's like really dangerous and threatening, like a Anthony Martial plus or a Marcus Rashford plus 5 years kind of player. And Alexis Sanchez is the guy. But Arsene Wenger's not going to let Sanchez go to Manchester United, right?
He let Robin van Persie go there.
And I guess he was going to let Sanchez go to Man City.
Yeah. And I would say...
What about Man City? They've suddenly got Gabriel Jesus injured. Kevin De Bruyne apparently is back. But, there's a danger that... he got hurt. David Silva has some like very serious personal stuff going on.
Which, soccer aside, we wish him and his family well.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And so you could do with a reinforcement like to keep Man City going, right?
You could. And then, again, this is the kind of... I see both sides of it, because on the one hand, if you are Man City, where everybody seems to have bought into the system, everybody's down, the people... Like, even Yaya Toure is like, sure, fine, I'm on board, let's do this. Like, then do you risk bringing in a player who, as we've already talked about, like publicly antagonizes and agitates his teammates? Or... is it that Pep Guardiola is sort of like, look, man, you're going to do what I say because I'm Pep Guardiola, and if you don't, see ya?
You may have heard of me.
In fact, was it Guardiola who sold him in the first place, or was Guardiola gone?
When he was at Barcelona? I can't remember.
That's an interesting one I hadn't thought about, but I'm sure it's been talked about many times. But so I do wonder, like, do you risk bringing in a player who is potentially temperamental into a system where you've kind of got everybody buying in? Or if you're Pep Guardiola, do you back yourself to tame that Mustang, as it were?
What, the horse or the car?
I'm going to say the horse, but I probably should have gone tame that shrew, I guess, that perceived shrew.
How about...
you tame that 10 things I hate about you. How about that?
Speaking of La Liga, how about Real Madrid? So Real Madrid are fourth in La Liga right now.
Yeah.
They're obviously stocked with talent, but the season's not going as planned. They just had that Clasico defeat, 3-0, where Kovacic sort of unwisely followed Leo Messi around when he didn't have to.
Yeah.
Or when it wasn't the wise thing to do. Why not splash some cash in January and sort of reinvigorate this Real Madrid team?
All right, Madrid fans, I apologize in advance if I'm wildly off base with this one, but I think maybe they have the same problem as Manchester United, which is they've got a lot of talented players. There's no obvious weak link, I would say. That you look at that team and, like, I don't think they've got a lot of problems in the midfield. I don't think they have a lot of problems in defense. Like, maybe you could use some reinforcements in case Varane or Ramos gets injured. But there's nothing like, oh, man, they are really missing that number 10 or they're really missing that number 6. It seems like they've kind of got every position filled and things just kind of aren't working.
Maybe it's a bigger rebuild is going to happen when Ronaldo moves on and they're kind of willing to sort of not restructure too heavily right now, but to wait until the post-Ronaldo era, whenever that may be.
I think that is a solid bet because I've started to see some stories about, like, in the past, you would see Madrid teammates get annoyed when he would shoot instead of passing, and now there's just no reaction. And I don't think that is no reaction as in, oh, they're used to it, this is just what he does. It's more of like, yep, of course. And I do wonder if maybe the way his scoring rate has gone this season, if they look at it at the end of the summer and think, I bet there's some clubs out there who would spend some money. I wonder if PSG would maybe do like Ronaldo plus $100 million for Neymar.
Oh, well, there's a rumour today that Real Madrid had offered Spurs Gareth Bale plus 150 million euros for Harry Kane.
Yeah.
So this rumour, I read it on goal.com, which was linked to the original rumour was in Sport, I think, or maybe AS. It was one of the Spanish tabloidy sports newspapers. So I'm not sure how much weight to put in it.
Zero.
I also don't believe Harry Kane really wants to leave Spurs, especially at this point.
I also think that this
is a World Cup year.
I think that this is a textbook example of a journalist or a newspaper creating a story based on narrative. That you look at that as Harry Kane is one of like the most high-profile strikers in the Premier League right now. He just set the calendar year record.
Yeah.
Then you've got like Gareth Bale has a connection to Tottenham, obviously. So then Real Madrid have a connection to Tottenham, obviously. So suddenly like it kind of writes itself, right? Like, oh, Tottenham player goes back to Tottenham, other Tottenham player comes to Madrid. They give a lot of money.
It's probably some automated software that puts these things together.
That's kind of how it feels. And maybe it feels like that because they've already sort of exhausted
alliteration and publish.
Yeah, exactly. Because they've already exhausted the David De Gea rumor mill. So we can't lead with that. We got to find a different random one to make up.
How about Eden Hazard? I keep seeing a Real Madrid Eden Hazard. Is that a similar sort of who's a famous player that Real Madrid could maybe buy?
Well, I think there maybe is a little bit more smoke there because I do think Madrid have been publicly interested in Eden Hazard before.
Smoke Hazard?
Yes, exactly. I think, is that the fifth brother? I know it's not because they all sound suspiciously similar, right? But for maybe kind of the reasons we've already talked about, I don't see him wanting to leave Chelsea because he's having a good season. He's established there. It's leading up to a World Cup. Not that like he would go to Madrid and sit on the bench. I don't think that's ever going to be a thing that happens. But maybe you just don't want to risk changing horses midstream.
The one sort of realistic rumor I saw was, they signed Vinicius Jr., who's now 17 years old, for some crazy amount of money for a teenager. Then let him go either back on loan or stay at Flamengo. There's a rumor that maybe they just bring him over earlier than planned.
And I would...
I'm not sure if that's legally possible.
I don't know. And I would mock that strategy, except that it did not go poorly for Manchester City and Gabriel Jesus.
There you go. Yeah, of course. So that's one possibility for what Real Madrid could do. It's also, this is our first January transfer window show. We'll probably do another one mid-January where there's more going on. And then we'll do one to wrap up as well. It'd be really interesting to see how all these things develop as we go forward.
And Serie A fans out there, I looked. There have not been the crazy rumors that I would have expected thus far for Serie A clubs because AC Milan are struggling, especially given how much they've spent. You would expect that there'd be some names linked there. Same for Inter Milan, just because they're having a much stronger season, but they always tend to be linked because I think people think they have a lot of money. Juventus maybe not as strong as they would have liked, so you'd expect some spending there. But I haven't really seen too many massive rumors one way or the other outside of Man United supposedly trying to get Dybala, which I do not believe.
I'd love to... I don't know if I'm going to upset Juve fans, but I'd quite like to see him move for Dybala, just to see him do it in a different setting.
I have a feeling if that were to ever happen, that smashes some sort of transfer record.
Yeah, he could be the next big name, right?
Yes.
He would need some advertising collateral from whoever his sort of boot sponsor is.
Yeah.
I
think so.
Someone would be busy on Photoshop. How about a final MLS one?
Sure.
Maybe the longest running rumour out there. Ezequiel Barco
goodness, yeah.
from Independiente to Atlanta United.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the breakdown here.
I think he would happily have this not be a rumor anymore.
Right, he wants this to happen, right? So my understanding is that Atlanta originally bid $12 million to Independiente for Barco. Then they went deep in, I can't remember what the tournament was, but they went deep in a tournament with Barco doing really well. This is an 18-year-old sort of winger / attacking midfielder. And suddenly Independiente said, wait, he's better than we thought. How about 24 million? Now Atlanta have come back with 16 million. A lot of it's kind of like incentivized, but easily achievable incentives. And Independiente have said no. That's where we're at with Barco.
Yep.
Here's a weird thing. I don't want this to happen.
Why is that?
Because I want more space for Andrew Carter.
Yeah.
Right? I don't need another talented 18-year-old playing for Atlanta United.
Well, Assad has gone. Nagby's. Okay, yeah, I'm with you. Never mind.
Right? Yeah, so Assad is...
I did the math real fast of like whole field. Suddenly Andrew Carlton doesn't have any space.
And Nagby's there already, right?
Yep.
Let's not like overstock this Atlanta team.
I feel like this entire show has been me trying not to say square peg round hole. That's what I've been trying not to do this entire time, and so far I've succeeded until now.
Any other rumors on your list?
No, I mean, I just want to say with the Barco one, I would be happy for that one to happen just because I'm excited to watch Atlanta United next season and be like, oh, they've got those 15 attackers on the field this time. Should be interesting.
Here's the thing that worries me. It's not just a Carlton thing. Yeah. There's a trend of young South Americans come into Major League Soccer, right? But they've been sort of like 24, 25-year-old South Americans, or South American attacking midfielders. If we suddenly start MLS signing promising teenagers from South America, you're going to really, because coaches are only willing to field so many young players at once, right? You're really going to squeeze out these sort of homegrown players if you've already got a couple 18-year-olds in your team that you've bought from Argentina. You know what I'm saying? There's a real danger of that.
Yeah.
The sort of the hashtag play your kids thing, we're going to have to change it to hashtag play your American kids. Or your Canadian kids.
And I think were it any other league, you would make the argument that, like, yeah, but you can buy those expensive youngsters. You can develop your own expensive youngsters, and then at a certain point, you can sell some on, fill in the spaces, not the holes, and and make it work. But because Major League Soccer is Major League Soccer, that's less likely.
You just get some allocation money for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not the same.
No, it's so much.
Not the same. All right, so no more rumors for now, but we did put a tweet out today.
Yeah, we did.
Asking if you were going to design a roughneck scarf themed around the January transfer window, what would be on it? We got some great answers as usual. So, all right, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Taylor, would you like to start us off?
Sure. Enabong Ephraim says Coutinho running on the edge of one side with Klopp, Salah, and Firmino chasing him, and on the other side, Messi and Suarez waiting patiently.
So one side of the scarf is that, the other side is Messi and Suarez just waiting with open arms.
Okay, there it is. I was going to say, how do you what's the word? Like make into an image waiting patiently. And if maybe it's open arms, maybe it's just them sort of looking very sanguine, staring off into the distance.
Looking very relaxed on top of La Liga.
Yeah, that makes sense to
me. Stephen Wood says it would be a short, superfluous extension of my regular transfer window scarf. That's very cynical, Stephen, but I like it.
I like that one a lot. Josh Westerman, Tyler Adams stiff-arming the Statue of Liberty, ouch, and trampling
a shark.
With Don Garber's face as he runs on water across the Atlantic to Dortmund.
So Tyler Adams escaped from MLS in a Kurt Russell kind of way.
Yep, he's the new Ocean Walker. Yet another Arrested Development reference for you.
Christopher Baird said his January transfer window scarf would have the numbers 1 to 31 running left to right, and as you move left to right, gaudy embellishments are periodically started but abruptly left unfinished. It finally ends in a frayed, tangled mess. Purchase of the scarf requires a second mortgage. So Christopher Baird, similarly not thrilled about the January transfer window.
Jake, as an Arsenal fan, I would have one side list all the names of the top players we are linked with, and the other side would be just blank, because we all know none of them will be signed.
Oh, no. Maybe, yeah, so we talked about Sanchez and Ozil earlier, and the possibility of maybe Thomas Lemar coming in.
Yeah.
It does seem like maybe Arsenal could do with some sort of, not just a statement signing, but just a cheer everybody up signing.
Yeah, and I can't remember.
Jake's obviously feeling it, right? And I'm sure he's not the only Arsenal fan that's feeling it.
But I can't remember if it was
20-year-old defender's not doing it.
David Hershey, or who's the cartoonist? David Squires?
David Squires, yeah.
I can't remember which one made the joke about Arsenal fans prepare themselves for when Ozil and Sanchez are replaced by a 17-year-old from the French third division and a 36-year-old who's past his prime, and then they're already linked with that 20-year-old Greek defender, and it is sort of oh no.
He was only off by a little bit.
A little bit.
Well, the best satire has an element of truth, right?
Final one.
Royce the Voice says his scarf would have Rafa Benitez sobbing quietly on one side, while the Newcastle owner is on the other side, swimming in a pile of coins a la Scrooge McDuck.
Peter Griffin taught us this. It's just like a bunch of pieces of metal all together. It's just one piece of metal. You break bones this way.
I mean, Scrooge McDuck did the backstroke, and I'm sure he could do it.
Yeah, why not?
Well, if you would like to buy your own scarf at roughneckscarves.com, you can get a team scarf from Major League Soccer, USL, from the NCAA. And
US national team?
US national team, I remember them. And all kinds of other teams as well. You can shop around. Also the Total Soccer Show scarf. Go to roughneckscarves.com. Use the discount code Total Soccer Show, all one word. Put it in all caps to shout it as well. Total Soccer Show, all one word. You get 20% off any scarf you see at roughneckscarves.com.
That you will, my friend. Thank you to Roughneck Scarves for sponsoring today's program. Final segment on the show, Mr. Grove.
Yeah, Scouting
Reports. The Scouting Network.
Lots of young Americans. Let's find out what they're up to today, Taylor.
That sounds good to me. Starting with Andrew Baird, scouting Josh Perez, 19-year-old American winger on loan at Livorno from Fiorentina. Perez has appeared in 2 of Livorno's last 3 matches, a 4-2 win over Gavrano and a 2-0 win over AC Preto. He still isn't getting considerable minutes, but his manager has been pleased with his efforts. Livorno are now on a 3-week break and currently sit 12 points clear atop their Serie C regional table through 20 matches.
Okay, Michael Thompson is scouting Chris Gloucester. We heard about Chris Gloucester the other day, right? 17-year-old American left-back for Unattached FC. Mm-hmm. You're smiling like you know something's up. Michael says that Mark Fishkin, we mentioned him earlier, one of the top Red Bull New York reporters, confirmed that Gloucester no longer has any affiliation with Red Bull New York or the Red Bull New York Academy and will be looking to make a jump to Europe. Chris will turn 18 in July 2018 and presumably that is the earliest he could make a move.
I was genuinely just smiling because Unattached FC makes me smile.
But remember, Chris Gloucester, U17, left back. A lot of people are very impressed with him. This is a kid to keep an eye on as he moves overseas.
Indeed, indeed. Next report is a long one, but I loved it. It's from Max and Mike Altschul, scouting John Juju. Would you say? Is that how you pronounce that?
I want to say Choo-Choo.
Choo-Choo?
It's spelled X-U-X-U-H.
All right, Choo-Choo. John Choo-Choo Hilton, 16-year-old American wingback for the Galaxy Academy, and that comes with 3 question marks.
Oh, okay.
Here we go. Hilton was one of the U.S. youth players caught up in FIFA's age requirement rule that prohibits European clubs from signing players under 18 who do not have an EU passport. So, after brief stints with Man City and the Ajax academies, Choo-Choo returned to Southern California in 2016 and joined the LA Galaxy Development Academy. However, he is not on the current Galaxy roster and was not one of the 14,000 kids recently called to the U.S. Men's National Team Youth Summit. And it may be that that's because Choo-Choo is back in Europe. The reputable, transfermarket.com reports
I'd remove that question mark. I'm all in on transfermarket.
Me too. On July 1st, 2017, Choo-Choo was transferred from the Galaxy to Dutch side, I don't know how to pronounce that, HFC, good luck.
Koninklijke.
There you go. Which we are going to call Royal HFC, since that is what comes up when we use Google Translate. The club plays in the Dutch Tweede Divisie, which means second division, but is actually the 3rd tier of the Dutch football pyramid.
Yep, Eerste Divisie is the second tier.
There we go. Wikipedia describes them as a semi-pro team, which might be why Choo-Choo is able to play there while being under 18, but that's total speculation on our part. Please note that we've been unable to confirm Choo-Choo's move to Royal FC. US Soccer lists him as unattached, and Choo-Choo does not appear on any Royal HFC roster or on their website. Once we find him, we intend to figure out how he got the name Choo-Choo. Stay tuned.
Okay, so this is very important and very interesting, right? John Hilton, Choo-Choo, really is sort of talked about as almost like American Cafu, right? Or American Dani Alves, like overlapping right back who gets in the attack and is really dangerous, like a really exciting type of player.
Yeah, I think we've reached the point where you got to lead with Dani Alves on that one.
Okay, yeah. For the new generation. Yeah. Wow, that's respect to Dani Alves for surpassing Cafu, right?
I mean.
So the fact that he might be over in Europe, I think is really exciting. And it seems like maybe if he is just sticking around until he's able to sign a contract, he may be training with this team and wait until it all becomes official before he signs.
Agreed.
He seems determined to get to Europe, right? Because he keeps going there,
what I'm saying.
Being sent back, like training with the Galaxy Academy, like, yeah, we'll have you coming in. And he's like, yeah, I'll definitely stay. And then he gets a phone call and he's like, whoa, let's get back on the plane. And then he's back over to Europe.
I'm just going to throw
this out there. We know where he wants to be.
Learn the rules, man. Like, quit getting in trouble. Like, there's the whole thing with, like, he gets sent back after being with Man City and Ajax. And now he's
how valuable is that training? You know what I'm saying? You spend time there. It doesn't matter if it doesn't work out Completely.
Well, unless you keep getting banned and sent back. It just feels like maybe like he has an agent who's trying to like test the loopholes in this one, and now it's like, well, if you play semi-pro, then it's allowed, so why not go over there now?
All right, maybe it's Choo Choo because he's a train that breaks down barriers.
Okay, I like that. Or just breaks down. One or the other. We'll see.
Trent Brockle is scouting Timothy Tillman, the 18-year-old German-American left-winger / central midfielder for Bayern Munich. Okay. Timmy T was not selected by Bayern boss Jupp Heynckes for the first team's winter training in Qatar. However, Trent wants to believe that this break will give him time to think about which national team he wants to represent. Last but not least, Timmy's birthday is January 4th. Is that today or tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
And when he will turn 19. Happy birthday, Timmy.
I feel like if you took like a 5-year break from soccer and came back to it like next week, it could be very weird because it's Jupp Heynckes coaching Bayern Munich. You've got like maybe Alexis Sanchez returns to Barcelona. That seems odd. You've just got some players making moves to places where they've already been.
Yeah.
It seems like maybe nothing has changed. Who knows?
What else we got, Taylor?
We've got one from John Barnett scouting Alexander Zinchenko, a 21-year-old Ukrainian attacking midfielder from Man City. Napoli are showing real interest in bringing Alexander on loan until the end of the season. He's only made 3 appearances, all at left back this season for City, 2 of which were in the League Cup, so the loan could provide an opportunity for real minutes. On a side note, this one made me scratch my head. Guardiola claimed that Alexander was the man of the match against Bournemouth, even though he wasn't on the field.
What?
You got me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think Guardiola's messing with us.
That's a distinct possibility.
He's like, I can see. I'll see if I can get that in the scouting report.
Yeah.
Russell Varner is scouting Hugo Ariano, the 19-year-old American centre-back for the LA Galaxy, sometimes left-back as well, right? Russell says, with each passing day, it seems less and less likely that Ariano will get consistent minutes with the Galaxy next season. After signing Jurgen... That's a nope. Jurgen Skelvik, who can play both centre-back and left-back, both positions Ariano plays. They are reportedly close to signing another left-back, Adam Lang, a Hungarian. In addition, Ashley Cole has been re-signed by the Galaxy. Training camp for the Galaxy starts in around 20 days, so we'll learn a lot more about how Ariano and where Ariano fits in then. One final note, Ariano was not in the 153 players called into the US Youth Summit. That's because he's too old, isn't it?
He's 19, so he could have been in there, right?
No, he can't, because the U20 team is for the 2019 U20 World Cup. Right. If you listen to today's Top Drawer Soccer Show,
that hasn't been published yet?
It's been published.
Okay.
But just as I met you, so you wouldn't have had a chance. So yeah, I just want to give a quick
and also would have had to listen to the entire thing.
Yeah. Quick plug, Top Drawer Soccer Show, me and Travis Clark, we did a whole thing about this US Youth National Teams Summit that's happening in Florida this week. 153 players, U16, 17, 18, 19, 20. They're all there getting prepped, ready for the laying the groundwork for the U20 and U17 World Cups.
There we are. Michael Hartman scouting Josh Sargent, 17-year-old forward, soon to be 18, for Werder Bremen. Looks like Josh will be joining up with Werder Bremen before he turns 18, as he's reportedly heading to their winter camp in Spain. He turns 18 on February 20th and will sign his first pro contract then.
And then the goals start flowing in for the Werder U19s.
I mean, obviously.
Steve Renard is scouting Yuri Tielemans, the 20-year-old Belgian midfielder for Monaco. Well, you got this in there fast. This came in just before we started recording.
Yep.
Tielemans has been sidelined since having knee surgery on 30th of November. No information published on a possible return date. Very little, except bad poetry, has been heard of him since. But L'Equipe apparently named him one of the Ligue 1 flop 11 for the season so far. Another L'Equipe article from December did say he's expected back in, quote, early 2018, but I've seen no word from the team or anything like what I consider official news on the subject. Thank you for the updates, Steve.
It's an up and down scouting report this time around. Lots of positives, lots of negatives.
Yeah. Well, thank you anyway to Andrew, Michael, Max and Mike and Trent and Jonathan for the earlier Tommy Redding report, and John and Russell and Michael and Steve. Love the scouting reports. If you'd like to get involved, it is totalsoccershow.com/join. Join as an active scout and scout a player, or join as a silent scout, which means you'll contribute to the show, help us keep it going, but you don't have to do any scouting.
I will say we're in the January window. You don't necessarily have to tell us about all of the clubs the player has been linked with, unless maybe there's some specific information in there.
I kind of like it, especially if it's young Americans. Like every time Tyler Adams even looks at another team's Wikipedia page, I want to know about it.
All right, that's fair. I can take that.
Oh, Taylor Rockwell, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, we'll be back on Thursday as long as we're not snowed in.
Yeah.
Even if we are, we'll do it remotely somehow, right? We'll find a way to do it. I'm thinking maybe listener questions on Thursday. There's always good stuff in there.
That also works for me.
All right, listeners, thank you for listening. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.